Hi, guys.
Hello.
Happy Sunday. We hope you guys had a great weekend. I'm Scott.
I'm Nancy.
And as we always do every Sunday, we do relationship and life chats. And we pull things from different things, books, podcasts, life, and we actually have a little bit of a combination of that tonight. Some things that we've learned through just regular life, through things in podcasts and books. And we entitled tonight's chat, Being Overwhelmed, Moments of Clarity, and Figuring It All Out. And this can be for life, for relationships. So I just want to quickly say hi to everyone that's jumping on. Dana, Paul, Eric, Jeff, Jason, good to see everybody. And if you choose to do so, say hi, interact with us as we go through this. If there's anyone that you feel should watch this, tag them in the comment section. Or if you would like to actually share this, either on your wall or in a group that you're in, if that would help them, please do so. And again, we are not professionals. All the advice we give are from life lessons and for some things that have worked for us. Nancy, welcome to the live. And we're gonna get right into it. And I'm actually gonna let Nancy actually host this one because she was very passionate about some of the things that we're gonna go over tonight. I'm gonna play off of her. So Nancy, the throne is yours.
Yay! For any of you who have watched our lives before, every Sunday we actually try to bring you some useful information, and most of it having to do with relationships and just kind of what's going on with our life. And Scott and I are both entrepreneurs, and we're kind of figuring things out as we go, and kind of bobbing and weaving the many different things that come up in life. And we like to kind of talk about the themes of the week or what's kind of been like the thing lately. And I'll tell you what, for me, the first thing that we were going to talk about is overwhelm. Right. And I jotted down a couple notes on there, but it's so easy in life, and this is even if you're not an entrepreneur, but there's so many things going on right now. I told Scott, it's like there's so much social media and people trying to get your attention, and so much that we're worrying about, whether it's financial or whether it's who's
especially during the holidays.
Exactly. We've got a lot of things going on during the holidays. And for me, one thing that I actually struggle with is, and Scott knows, I am almost like ADD in the way that I think. I come up with so many different ideas, and sometimes it's way worse than others. I'll have a week of extreme clarity where I will feel so good and I'm driving my mission home. I'm kind of like, I know exactly what I need to do. I'm so focused and everything's great. And right as I feel like I get into a groove, something will happen and I will literally either A, want to turn the corner and do something else, or I'll have so many different ideas that I literally bring myself to a halt. And it's like, I was moving so, gung-ho at this one thing. And then I'm like, this is so cool too. And then I get so excited. So I get overwhelmed at my own ideas and thoughts, and it gets really hard to focus sometimes. And I did a lot of soul searching this past week, and I stumbled upon a podcast that it was on the Lori Harder podcast, and I think it's like
Find Your Happy.
Yes, Find Your Happy.
Great podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic.
Earn Your Happy. Sorry.
Earn Your Happy.
Earn
yes.
Your Happy.
And she was interviewing Peta Kelly. And for those of you who have never listened to Peta Kelly, please look her up. She is all about clearing the noise of the world and really zoning in and focusing on yourself. And the whole podcast just really moved me because it spoke to my heart. It was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so like bogged down by all these ideas and feelings. And she's the exact same way. She's like, you know, it's really hard for her sometimes to really stay focused and stay on track and stay, you know, right on gear when she has so many ideas popping off in her brain.
Mm-hmm.
So what she's learned to do, and what we're kind of going to talk about next, is she's really learned to kind of embrace the moments that she has of clarity. And she's learned to like, thank you, you know, when the clouds part and there's that time when you can really focus and you can really put things on paper and put that, you know, things in place to make sure that your ideas are captured and you kind of move forward with the ones that make the most sense. You know, she really talks about how you can embrace them and do some exercises around that. So I wanted to share that. And the other thing too is I read the book Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. If anyone else has read that book, it's called Girl Wash Your Face. It really was awesome, but the most impactful thing for me was she really talked about no one else is going to care as much about your life as you, right? And if you're going to make a change or you're going to take the reins of your life, it needs to be done by you. Stop waiting for someone else to figure it out. Stop waiting to see, you know, the next thing or the next podcast or the next training video or whatever. You're going to eventually get to a point where you need to pave your own path and you need to figure out what's going to work for you. And so that all kind of in a perfect storm came together for me. And between the Peter Kelly and the book, you know, The Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis, really the biggest messages for me of, you know what, there's always going to be overwhelm and there's always going to be stuff, right, that you're going to be worried about. There's always going to be, you know, someone trying to get your attention and whatever. We're going to have to just realize that this is life and this is how it's always going to be. So it gets to a point where we kind of got to lean into it and just kind of fall into the pool, you know, of this is life. And, you know, we're just going to roll with the punches and we're going to appreciate each and every day and, you know, be grateful for what we have and, you know, keep carrying forward. Did you have anything on overwhelm?
Yeah, I think being overwhelmed is a choice by most people. And it's an unintentional choice because I had a very overwhelming moment yesterday, and Nancy could actually see it on my face. You know, I like to have peaceful wake-ups, and yesterday was not a peaceful wake-up. Taylor came in the room and said, "Wake up!" And literally, it jolted me out of bed, like scared me to death. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. And he's like, let's go play. And like, that's how my morning started. And then I was thinking about all the moving pieces to our day that we had to get done. He had basketball practice. We were going to stop and get coffee, and then we were getting breakfast after, and then we had to get home by a certain time. We were going to go see a play in the afternoon, then meet friends for dinner. So there were, and I was playing all of this out in my head. And she goes, "You okay?" Because, I mean, I looked overwhelmed on my face. And I said, yeah, we just got to get moving. I'm like, you get in the shower. I'm going to get him dressed. I'm going to get in the shower after you. And then, like, after about 40 minutes, I was fine. I was cool. And we even talked about it last night before bed. She goes, what happened yesterday? And or what happened this morning? And for me, you know, I think everyone has an expectation of how they want their day to go. And, you know, how they want their life to be. And I didn't intend to have my morning start out that way. And it just kind of threw me off. And it took me a little bit of time to get back on track. But once I did, and once I refocused, and as Peter Kelly says, you quiet the noise so you can hear the voice, I was able to get back on track and move forward. And there's a lot of people, especially this time of year, that are completely, utterly overwhelmed with life. You know, kids and their holiday parties, you and your holiday parties, all the shopping and the this and that. It's all by choice. For me, having a schedule, being very planned, being very on top of what has to get done makes me feel better because you're never really fully in control of your life because something's going to come up. But the more that you realize when you're starting to feel anxious, when you're starting to feel overwhelmed, just realize that you're choosing to feel that way. You take a deep breath, you recenter yourself, you focus on what's going on right now, and then you start walking forward again. So being overwhelmed, again, when you realize that it's a choice by you, that you can choose to be overwhelmed or you can choose to not be overwhelmed, it's only going to set you on that right path.
Yeah, and like the other thing too is, it was like a quote, we were talking about this earlier, is when you live in fear, you know, you live in the past, and if you live in
anxiety,
the future, or yeah, you live in anxiety, you're worried about the future or things to come. And I'll just tell you, like, I love structure. I love it when everything's just, you know, all in a line, and I love knowing but it's like, again, it's never going to be perfect. And especially in the kind of life that we live, there's always going to be ups, downs, and all arounds. And I kind of just, I'm telling you, some kind of, you know, egg timer went off and I went ding last week. And I'm just like, guess what? I'm welcoming the craziness, you know, I'm welcoming life and everything that has to bring. And, you know, Scott did an interview with Matt Newman last week, and for those of you who haven't seen the interview, I highly recommend checking it out, and also checking out Matt Newman on TEDx. So we did a TEDx talk, and Matt has brain cancer, and he has this incredible story about how much you should really appreciate everything that you have right now, and every single day is not promised, and you have no idea. And at 39, right? 39, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, and he's still fighting it. I mean,
3 kids under 3 when he was diagnosed.
3 kids under 3.
3 kids under 3.
And it's just, you know, every day is not promised, and there's so much beauty in the now and in life. And I can't even tell you, like, again, something clicked in me, and it was just like, wow, okay. All that, those things that I was worrying about, all that stuff I know is coming around the bend, guess what? It's going to be okay. I'm embracing it. I'm appreciating everything that is there around me right now. And I'm grateful for those that I have in my life. You know, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for everything at this moment. And I will tell you, anytime you start to feel that craziness, bring yourself, you know, back, ground yourself, and realize how much wonderfulness there is in your life, right? You know, there's always good. I don't care how bad and shitty things get.
Every day.
There's always something good, and there's always a lesson in the bad, no matter how bad it can be.
Jeff said had to be part of your
part of your craziness. Yes, Jeff. And actually, we got off the phone, I'm like, fucking taxes, man. My account's on here. But like, seriously, I'm like, I hate taxes. So anything that gives me anxiety, it's that. But anyway, so overwhelm, we kind of touched on that. The next thing I want to talk about is moments of clarity. Okay. So watching the thing from Peter Kelly, thinking embrace those moments when you have clarity and you really know you're hitting your sweet spot, right? She said, out of all the crazy ideas that you get, right? And a lot of us out there do like have these ideas, right? You know, I'm not the only one. I know Scott's like this. I know my business advisor. I know a couple people on here, you know, have ideas, and you're always thinking of all these cool things you can do, and maybe businesses you can start, and things that you can, you know, do, and books that you can write, and blogs that you can do. So she said, basically, out of all these ideas, what she does, and this is an activity that I actually haven't started, but I'm going to start doing, it's when you get overwhelmed with ideas, do not resent that part about you, okay? She said, embrace the chaos. Know that it's almost like a cloud. It's an overcast that's coming over, right? And she said, in the midst of that crazy time where you know it's going to pass, right? It's almost like weather, okay? She said, do an exercise, which it's a meditation. She actually kneels on the ground in like prayer position. And I wrote this down so I get it right. In the prayer position, her head on the ground. So her, basically her knees are on the ground. She's praying. Her head is touching the ground. Her heart is higher than her head. And what she says out loud, and she says it to her soul, it's whatever is keeping me from my clarity, thoughts, patterns, energies that are not mine, keeping me from my higher purpose, please remove them. Please get rid of them. And she says she just sits there until she kind of gains a little bit of clarity, and she just asks for that clarity, right? And she says sometimes she uses special words, or she'll scream, get out of my head. Let's be clear. Let me focus, because there's so many different people in your life and so many different energies that, you know, might affect you, or things that you see on the news, or, you know, again, everybody on the internet is trying to get your attention right now. You know, we're here like trying to get your attention right now, but it's like, in the midst of all of that, try to seek that clarity and try to slow down enough to listen to what, you know, your body and your soul are telling you. The other thing that she does too is a grounding prayer, where she says, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? And what would you have me say? And to who? And she just sits there and she thinks on that. And again, this is during times where your brain is firing a mile a minute and you can't focus, and you just really need to kind of bring it back in. And she says, you know, she has these ideas that will literally cyclically come back to her. There are ideas that literally just pop up and they'll just go away. You know, it'll pop up and go away. She says she has more notes on her phone, you know, which I'm the same way. I have so many notes in my phone. Write them down, get them off your brain, you know, write them down. But there will be some ideas that you'll have that almost you feel kind of in your soul. And Scott knows I kind of am like, man, something's telling me to like open my eyes and really focus on this. Like for me, like real estate was one of those things where I'm like, I'm supposed to, you know, have something involved with real estate. It's supposed to happen in my life, right? You know, I have my real estate license. I am a realtor. You know, I'm just getting started, but it feels so right to have that chip, you know, that piece of that puzzle in my life right now. The second thing is I've been working lately with my accountant on a course that we're building, and it's so freaking exciting, and it makes me so excited. I get so inspired by it, and I'm excited to roll this program out. It's for small businesses. You know, we talk about basically getting a handle on your business and getting some structure in place, and you know, making things a little bit more simple that you might be overwhelmed about. And it's so awesome. And so I get so fired up about that. And I'm like, Scott, I've always wanted to teach and do things. And it's like, this is a jam, you know? So it's really cool when you have those ideas and you kind of just realize that they keep coming back to you, maybe in a different shape or form. But those are the ideas that you want to really embrace and kind of focus on.
Yeah, I always tell myself, and I told the people, that clarity is king. You know, when you're clear on your vision, on your purpose, on your passion, there's really nothing that's going to stand in your way. And, you know, 2018 for both of us was a huge year of growth. I mean, huge year of growth. There was a lot of darts thrown at the dartboard. A couple sticked, a bunch stuck, a couple sticked. I was around Taylor too much. You know, a bunch fell off. And I know that 2019 is the year of explosive change for so many things for the both of us. And I know it's the year of change for many of you that have committed to certain things. So I always tell people that, you know, when you're so crystal clear, like literally I am so clear on my goal of 2019, and I know Nancy is too, that literally I can taste it. I know I have so many things in place. You know, even with our relationship, you know, our relationship with Taylor. And, you know, I said to her today, I said, I wish we could just snap our fingers and we'd be in our new house and we'd have a kid, and Taylor would be with us and involved in our family. And, you know, like, I'm like, I'm just so clear. I mean, we both are so clear, but it's that patience that comes with clarity, because that's what happens when you're so clear on what you know you want. You come up with this idea and you're like, oh my God, this is so going to work. Mm-hmm. Then you have to actually be patient to actually roll it out and get it together, because you want it to happen right now, you know, and that's what frustrates most entrepreneurs, or even in most relationships, like with your kids and with your spouses. You get an idea and you just want it to happen right there, right now. But patience runs right alongside of clarity. And even though when you are clear, it's going to freeze you at some point, because then you realize, okay, I'm clear. Now I have to figure out exactly how I have to lay down the tracks to get to where I want to be in my life, so I don't become overwhelmed again. So it's this vicious cycle of just really understanding that we all seek clarity, but we all seek patience at the same time, because again, we don't know how much longer we all have, and you have to enjoy every moment. When you have a moment of clarity, when you have a moment of peace, when you have a moment of patience, you embrace it. Even the overwhelm and the chaos and the craziness, you embrace that shit like there's no tomorrow, because you don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow.
And like, take note of those things that fire you up, because like Scott said, like you gotta stay focused, because next week you could be like, oh man, okay, involved in something else, and you can lose sight of what you're working towards. And that's why it's so important just to keep coming back to it and stay focused. Like, don't lose focus of that thing that you're like truly inspired by and you're truly going after. Anyway, those are lessons from recent stuff. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is, which I thought was pretty cool, figuring it all out. Okay. So we talk a lot about, you know, again, we're not experts in any way, shape, or form. The only thing that we've always promised to be is very transparent in our relationship and, you know, the things that we do. And, you know, without obviously disclosing and talking about too much, I thought it was really important to bring up that, you know, there's couples out there, and maybe couples who might watch this, who have started dating, you know, maybe a little bit, you know, later in life, where their significant other might already have kids or might have already been married previously. And that's something, obviously, you know, Scott is the first person that I've ever dated and been in a very serious relationship with who has a child. And it's really funny because, it's so different. It is like 100% different in the most beautiful craziness, like, you know, that could possibly exist. And I will tell you, like, it's so funny because every single thing, right? And I'm a researcher. Like, I love to dig in and learn as much as I possibly can so that I can approach situations in the, you know, in the best way possible and whatever. And I will tell you, the one thing about parenting and the one thing about, you know, these types of things that I've read so far is, even though all of us, right, had parents, I mean, the chicken and the egg thing, right? We all have parents. Nobody's perfect, and there's no exact science on how to raise kids and how to do things perfect, and, you know, how to be that perfect person. So it's like, we can only do so much with what we know, and kind of just, you know, guide things along and, you know, be a certain thing and have, you know, those core values. And it's really funny. So this weekend, you know, something came up, and we wanted to really make sure that we were setting kind of like some structure. We were basically trying to get some structure in place for Scott's son. And it was more so to make sure not only that we're on the same page, but that we're also like being really good role models and guiding him in the right way. And so lately, like, he hasn't, you know, really been like listening as much, and he's kind of like gets so excited about things that he just doesn't, you know, like, basically he goes left, we say go right, and then it's like repeating yourself again and again.
Yeah, like not in a bad way. You know, he's just an excitable kid.
He's 6. Yeah, so it's like, it's a normal thing. I mean, look, like, the funniest thing happened. So, okay, and also throw 2 dogs into the mix, and then it's just like all hell breaks loose. But like, here's the thing. So we went to his basketball practice. Again, 6-year-old basketball practice. I had to take a picture because I was laughing so hard, because in this little like, okay, so all the little kids were in basketball practice, and again, the ages ranged, I think, from like 4 to like 6 or 7 or something. And we have this little girl who comes out, and she's doing somersaults and like splits.
Well, the one in the picture, like, Taylor was staring this way.
We've got somebody picking her nose.
A kid was lifting his shirt up,
over his head.
So they're all the same.
Oh, and it's so funny, right? So it's like, you've got all these little kids, all different personalities. I mean, on the sidelines, we had this little 2-year-old who was waving to his sister and was like doing,
taking pictures.
You know, and it's like, this was so beautiful in this such a crazy disorganized way. And Scott was saying, oh, I'd love to be a coach. And I'm like, really? Like, it looks like so hard, whenever you're dealing with kids, especially this age. So anyway, again, back to trying to kind of figure it all out, right? All kids are different. Some may be a little more strong-willed, some maybe. And I mean, I honestly think, Scott's son has a gift. I mean, he is the most curious, like,
he's a brilliant little boy. He really is.
Loves music. I mean, he's got rhythm. He rhymes. He can write poetry. I mean, he can, like, anything we give him to do, he's great at.
Chopsticks. Like
he actually used chopsticks.
He used first time, and he just picks them up, and I showed him, and he just started doing it.
But all these things, right? So it's like, okay, whenever you have a kid who is so, like, that he's just thinking, he's so curious and he's got so many things on his mind, it kind of connected me to, like, what I've been kind of going through, right? Like, all these things, and there's so much to experience in life, and it can be overwhelming, or it can be, organized chaos. So we were talking about it, and we're like, how awesome would it be to actually kind of get maybe some, like, house rules? Like, let's put some things in place, right? Just like 3 things. Let's keep it simple. And let's come up with these things together that we can kind of form, kind of like the things that we focus on. If you want to.
Yeah. And so we kind of, like, broke down, they're right here. And basically what we did is we asked him, that was the key. We weren't going to tell him what the house rules were. We said, listen, there's 3 categories, and, we basically, first we said to him, and we came up with 3 categories, because we actually said to him, what are some things that you do that are wrong? Mm-hmm. And he listed 3 things. Hey, Jennifer. And
it wasn't things that he did wrong. It was, let's pick out 3 things that we usually, something ends up in, like, maybe a timeout or something like that.
Whatever it was. And he labeled 3 things. And we said, great. Okay. So we broke the 3 categories down. And then we said, all right, so what the dogs are like, he just loves dogs, and
number 1.
It was number 1. So we said to him, okay, so you tell us, what are some things that you could do, not good, like not listening wise, that would, result in you getting a timeout or something? So we put the ball in his court so he could actually figure out what was right and what was wrong.
It was really funny. So I was just like, all right, so what are some things, maybe that we do that,
and he rattled off good.
Like, and he was like, no, let me handle this, right? No, he was like, okay, we need to be gentler with the dogs.
And the first thing he said was to be
Yep. And he said, let's say, no hitting the dogs.
No tennis balls in the house.
Throwing the tennis balls. No picking them up. No teasing them. No hitting them on the head. No dogs on the bed, we talked about. So anyway, we went through this whole thing, and he knew everything that probably wasn't a good idea with the dogs. Mm-hmm. He said these. And so here I am. I'm, like, writing it down. I'm like, okay, great. And then I said, okay, well, what are some things that we can do good with the dogs? Okay. And so he went through and he said, all right, I think we can, be kind, be gentle, make sure that we treat them respectfully. Like, it was really cute. And
don't activate them.
Yeah, we call it activating. So Mortimer is my Jack Russell Dachshund mix, and he is so calm unless you activate him, and then he just, like, runs around. He, like, loves to play with you. So anyway, then I asked Taylor. I said, what do you think would be some good consequences? What would result if you don't do, like, the good thing?
And the great thing is, he came up with it.
Yes. He was like, well, I think it's fair that we put the dogs in the room, which is, like, he hates that the worst. So he said, let's do this. And then, maybe, it would result in timeout or something. So, I mean, he actually came up with the ideas, and the whole thing that I thought was pretty awesome. And again, every kid's different, so it's going to be different for everybody. And again, we're kind of in experimentation mode. But he came up with that. He knows the difference between what's good and what's bad. And he honestly cares, and he's so compassionate, and he doesn't want to do, anything wrong. And so it's like we got excited. All right, we got one house rule in place, and we moved right down the line. And we picked a couple other things, and listening was on there, and just knowing that when we tell you to do something, it's usually for your safety, or it's something for you, to protect you and all that stuff. So anyway, we had a really, really great day. We had great conversations.
And at the end, we said, you get a sticker for each category that you do well in, and when you accumulate 20 stickers, Nancy and I will buy you a $5 gift. So it's, basically, he gets 3 stickers. It's almost like a 7 days worth of good behavior. So it's reinforcing good behavior all the time. And the great thing is he got 3 stickers today, and he had some from before, so he's got 14. He goes, great, I only need 6 more. And so now it gives him something excited to look forward to and work towards. So, but we didn't push him into it. We said, listen, let's come up with some house rules. And then we actually said to him, before I dropped him off to his mom's, we asked him what were 3 great things about this weekend? And he said, well, we saw.
Yeah, I don't want to say what he said.
No, that was. we saw Charlotte's Web. He goes, I was good with the dogs, and I got 3 stickers on my my house rules chart. And I'm telling, you think these kids don't know everything? They know absolutely everything. At 6 years old, they know, they remember everything. It's crazy what he remembers from a year and a half ago. They're just amazing little people. They really are.
Yeah. So for me, it's been incredibly, like I said, it's like beautiful chaos. It's like beautiful, new and different, completely, just learning things. I've never, I feel incredibly blessed to be able to experience this. And together, and it's just great. We had such a great day, and it was
I'm the lucky one, because there are, and this is not like putting anyone down, but for someone like Nancy to come into my life, being someone that was twice divorced, having a child, and her not even batting an eye of that, no, I like you, and we start dating, and then we fall in love, and I didn't ask her, I didn't push her to meet him or do anything. She was willing and wanted to be a part of all this. And, there was absolutely some people that, when we were both single and dating, I had someone say that they didn't want to date me because I had a kid. They quote unquote said I had baggage. And, there's people that think that. And I know that, for some people out there going into a relationship and you like that person, and, but they might have a child or multiple kids, you have to love that person and love everything that's included with their life. And there was never an issue at all. Nancy has embraced myself. She's embraced Taylor, my family, her family. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's a very, very special thing. And I know there's other people out there that have experienced the same thing, but, for my single friends out there, that, chances are, there's a very good chance that if you're going to date someone at this stage in your life, there's a good chance they may have a kid, and that's okay, because, we're a team, we're a family, and we get to experience everything together. I was, being a single dad, we have our man time, we absolutely do. And they have their own play time as well. And it's a very beautiful thing. And, life is about figuring it out. There's no right, there's no wrong. You're on this trip together, and you're figuring it out as you go. And again, every book outside of scientific study type books, any parenting book that anyone has ever read is based off of someone's own experience or something that's worked for them. So there is no right or wrong. You just have to figure out what works best for you, not only in the relationship with your kids, but your partner, your friends, your family, and most importantly, yourself. You have to figure it out.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, it's actually, there's some perks to, dating someone, who's a dad. I mean, you always have snacks packed. Like, he's like always prepared. Like, it was hilarious. The first couple times we went out, like we were going to the zoo, we were going to a couple other places, and he literally had like waters and applesauces and snacks, and it was just like, oh my God, like,
you have to be prepared.
But he's always so prepared, so I appreciate that.
Feed you both.
Yeah, but the other thing I want to say too, because I mean, we're kind of on this topic on this live, we don't talk about this often, but I did think it was important to just kind of touch on it, because that is part of our relationship. It is a big part of our relationship, in me dating someone who has a child. And the thing is I've been through it. I come from a family who, my parents were divorced. And so I lived that life of, visiting my dad every other weekend and kind of seeing him here and there. And it's like, I remember how that felt, like, how much I love my dad so much, but kind of like leaving my general routine of life and kind of going and kind of always having to do this back and forth. It was hard for me. And so I tell Scott sometimes I have a special spot in my heart, because I can kind of totally relate to, how his son might be feeling sometimes and things like that. And I'm a little extra sensitive to it. So I think, for those of you out there who are dating someone, with a child or might be thinking about it, I think the number one word that comes up to me is when you actually do get serious. The word inclusion and making people feel included is probably one of the biggest things I can say, is the advice that I would give is, make them feel included. I think, as a kid for me, when my dad got remarried and, my parents moved on, it was so important for me to always feel included, in part of their life and everything that they did. So that's just huge for me. And I try to always make sure that, Taylor always feels included. We decorated the house and everything we picked out was his, his choice. It was like, do you like the shower curtain? And he's like, great, yes. And I'm like, yes, good. Okay. Do you like this rug? Okay. Yes, let's go. And he's the interior decorator, and it's like, we have a shoe rack. I always make sure his shoes, are like first on the rack and everything. And the simple things like that. It's so incredibly important. And if you feel like you're holding back a little bit, and there are other relationships, again, we're very different, right, than a lot of other relationships. But if, you or your significant other might be holding back, kind of holding their guard up and not fully diving in and kind of embracing the craziness of life and everything, that's something to really talk about and to look at. And I will say, I've talked to several people who have had problems in their relationships because either they don't feel included, with the other person's kids or family, or they're just kind of having their own life over here and they're kind of letting them do their things. It's an important thing to talk about. It's a lot of communication.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy put into actually making sure you're on the same page and that you support each other. And, honestly, I know we talk about therapy a lot, but if you do feel that there is some kind of, something going on, to get on the same page, therapy is not a bad idea.
It's therapeutic. It helps.
But again, yeah, it's a beautiful craziness.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So guys, remember, being overwhelmed, is a choice. It's okay. Embrace it. When you have those moments of clarity, you're going to have those moments of patience as well, because once you're clear, you're going to want it right now, but just be patient. And life is about figuring it all out. And there are some things that you may never figure out, and that is okay. So we hope you guys found this content helpful. If there's anything that you would like us to talk about specifically, life, relationships, anything, do not hesitate to inbox either of us and say what you would like us to talk about. We can absolutely build some content around it. So enjoy the rest of this beautiful Sunday, and we will see you next week. from the farm. Stay tuned. Bye, guys.